There is so much potential in this episode, and they use every bit of it. Or do they? You're going to have to wait and find out as we talk about Sideshow right now.
Your tax dollars at work.
Oh, wake me if he busts out. That'd be a story.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. So glad to see you once again. And if you're new here, thanks for joining us. I hope you'll stick around, hit the subscribe button, because this is the channel where we talk about Batman the Animated Series. And if you're like me and grew up on the show and became a huge Batman fan today, then this show is for you. Because we're looking at these episode by episode, 24, 25 years later, and talking about them from the perspective today versus what we thought of them when we were kids. So stick around as we talk about Sideshow, which originally aired on May 3rd, 1994. So we have Killer Croc teaming up with some other Sideshow people out in the woods fighting Batman. There's a lot that can be done with this story, and they hit on some really neat elements, but do they fully tap all of the potential out of this concept of this episode? We're going to talk about it right after our 60-second rundown with the Joker Bomb. Here we go. Killer Croc is being transported on a train through the wilderness to another prison, and he finally bites through his chains. Batman, who's disguised as one of the reporters, runs off, encounters him on the roof. They attack, they fight back and forth, and they fall off and get knocked out. And Killer Croc gets up and continues walking, and Batman is tracking him through the wilderness. And Killer Croc lands on this farm, where these other Sideshow freaks are at, and they say, "Why don't you stay with us? We're your kind." And then Batman shows up, and Killer Croc goes, "No, this guy's bad. He's the one that chained me up initially." And so they throw him into the back of this train car, and Batman's going, "No, he's really the bad guy." And then they fight, and then Killer Croc's true colors come out, and they fight, and then they help him kind of stop him, and then they eventually capture him, and they go, "Why'd you do this, Killer Croc? You could have been like us." And he goes, "I was just showing my true colors," and then they helicopter him away. First hint that this episode may not be as good as it should.
Don't bother trying, Croc. Those cuffs are stacked polycarbon alloy. Not even you can break them.
The first thing that kind of struck me about this episode is, much like our last episode, House and Garden, we see Batman in the daylight and in the wilderness. And at first, it's a little offsetting to go, "Oh, it's weird, Batman with trees." It's just an odd combination. But then I start thinking, oh, this is kind of neat. This is isolated. This is outside of his normal conventions of buildings and alleyways and rooftops and that. So he's at a bit of a disadvantage, and he's got to try to maneuver his way through the forest. But then we have, after Killer Croc has escaped from the train and Batman is tracking him, we spend a lot of time of Batman tracking him, and Killer Croc traveling, and Batman tracking, and traveling, and tracking, and traveling some more. So they eat up a lot of the episode with that, and to be perfectly honest with you, I just got bored of it. I thought, okay, let's get on with this, because I knew what was about to happen. I knew he teamed up with these other Sideshow people. I feel bad calling them freaks, but it is a Sideshow freak show.
You're one to talk lizard lips.
These other people, like him, out in the wilderness.
No need to be shy. We're all family here. It must have been fate that led you to us.
Yeah? What's a freak show doing in the middle of nowhere?
And when we first meet up with these characters, they're really kind of neat. We got the dolphin boy, Finn kid, who swims through there and has the flippers for the hands. Cool character. And then we see Goliath and the Robertson.
Richard, at your service.
The conjoined twins. Some really neat characters, and I would have liked to see them shine a little bit more. So we set up this great potential with what their capabilities are and how they've being faced with sort of the same lifestyle as Killer Croc, and they made the choice, let's kind of join up together and help each other out and support each other and live on this farm and work. Or it's an old sawmill, or it's an old mill of some sort.
We used the money we earned to buy this farm so we could live in peace.
This is a sanctuary, not only for us, but for all our kind. If you're willing to join in the work, you too are welcome here.
Then we have Croc, who wants nothing to do with that. He's a loner. He just wants to get money. He hears that they have money stashed away.
It's not something we like to broadcast.
50 grand, eh? A guy could go to town on that.
I love the theme of this. We have seemingly two groups of people that are, on one hand, very much going with the hand that they've been dealt, and then we have Killer Croc, who's angry about it and wants to get revenge and wants to use his ways to get rich and become a criminal. And I think that's a great theme that, again, could have been established more through this or built more into this. And also would have been neat to see one of the characters maybe struggling with that and maybe going, yeah, I think I like Killer Croc's ideas more.
No, Croc. I know you feel a little funny being here, but it's great. It really is. No one stares at you, laughing, making you feel bad. You can be yourself.
But it very much felt like this episode was setting up another episode. Like they wanted to use these characters again. And maybe they do. Let me know in the comment section if I'm forgetting about an episode that these characters return in, because it's very apparent that they put a lot of work into these characters and they developed some great personalities and great designs of these that I just can't remember if they come back, because if they do, then that makes a lot of sense. But if they don't, I feel like they missed out on some potential here with them.
Don't think you're gonna fool my friends, do you? They know my story. I'm one of them.
And I would have liked to see either go the route of doing more with the Sideshow people or keep them out in the woods. And even that first part where they were just kind of tracking each other, that could have been a story in itself. Batman, Killer Croc, lost out in the woods together, and maybe at some point, somebody gets injured or they break their leg or they need to rely on each other to help each other out. And then once they finally get out or they're trapped somehow, then they end up, now they're back to being foes. So that element of having a hero and a villain having to join forces to fight nature and fight the circumstances that they're in.
And they say the city's dangerous.
So it just felt like they had a lot of these neat elements in the episode, but then didn't know how to carry them out, didn't know how to flesh them out. And then they kind of fall back on the old, the way that Killer Croc kind of shows his true colors is he finds out that they have $50,000 stashed in cash, and so he wants to steal it.
What you doing?
We're looking for a blanket. I'm cold.
So when it comes time to rank this episode, I have to take all elements into consideration. And certainly the story or the premise of this episode is something to be excited about. And it certainly has a great setup for this. And I also do appreciate they're not just sticking strictly to being stuck in Gotham City, that they kind of take it out a little bit. Even though it's a little weird seeing Batman during the day, it works in this episode, in the context of this episode. So those elements are good, but at the same time, it's like they got really close to being great and then just kind of fell back, or set up some great potential and then fell back. Or like this was a prequel. This was a building episode to go to the next episode. So for all those reasons, it ended up falling at the number 46 spot of my favorite episodes so far. It's just below Night of the Ninja because, well, come on, it has ninjas. There's certainly a greater, as far as the building blocks, this episode very much feels like this one-off. Whereas episodes like Night of the Ninja build into this larger story of Batman and a larger history of who he was and how he trained as Bruce Wayne and his history with the Kyoto Kai and all of those elements. But it does beat out Cat Scratch Fever because that was just kind of this watered down story that could have done so much more, but it didn't.
Yeah, great. Whatever.
So as far as Killer Croc episodes, where's this one placed for you? Let me know what your thoughts of this episode are in the comment section below. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button. And if you're looking forward to seeing more of these episodes, then hit subscribe, because we have new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday reviewing Batman the Animated Series. And coming up next Tuesday, I'll be talking about the episode Avatar, so you don't want to miss that. As always, I'm Andy Knode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.